Trish, it is wonderful to have you on Uncover Wealth Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So Trish, why don't you tell us, what client relationship problems do you typically see that are losing businesses money?
Usually what it is that businesses overpromise and underdeliver. Okay, especially in the service sector. So I know that there's a lot of competition out there, but the more honest you are about your capabilities, the better off your business is. Of course, if you have a deep well of resources and you know that they're available and accessible, it's not really overpromising then, right? Because you have access to them. But if you don't and you're not sure, it's best to play it safe.
Yes,
so that's one of the reasons. Yeah.
I completely agree. I completely understand that. I often find we have clients that come to us for exactly that reason, because their previous accounting firm has done exactly that. They've overpromised and underdelivered on, you know, what their area of expertise, basically. So, yeah, I can completely see how that's an issue. So, like you said, it's about being honest in your communication.
Yes.
I was just going to say, do you see any other kind of big relationship communication problems that people have when they're trying to build these profitable relationships with their clients?
Well, it's also a matter of making sure that the client is matched with a person, an account person that knows how to communicate properly. And we're getting into various areas of what I do here. So, but account supervisors that are afraid to communicate with the client, okay? And that's, again, that's something that I do teach. And that's a huge problem, okay? Because what you need to do is to be able to treat your client like an adult and have an adult relationship with them. And if there's a problem, you don't wait till the last minute, even though, you know, you don't want to bring issues to the client. You always want to make sure that you're on top of things. But the world that we live in is not perfect, okay? And we can't always have things run smoothly. Things don't always run smoothly. I mean, just look at what happened to 2020.
Yes.
Little did we know. So you always have to make sure that you communicate quickly, okay? Obviously, if you have a team, because it depends on what kind of service you're selling. Sometimes it's just one person that's client facing, and that's the person that solves a problem. But usually there's a team that works together, that you go to your team and you ask, you know, what's the solution? What's the timing? Would there be any extra cost involved? And then you go back to the client and you say, this is what happened and this is how we're going to fix it. A lot of times, one, there's a knee-jerk reaction. They just pick up the phone and they just blurt it out, and then the client's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And they don't know. They're like, let me get back to you on that. No, you don't get back to them on that. You have the problem, you figure out the solution with your team. Again, I'm stressing with your team, okay, because of the overpromise thing. Again, we're going to avoid that. And then you go back to the client, and then as quickly as you can, tell them what the issue is, and then make sure that you tell them this is the solution. There might be a little bit of negotiation that needs to happen. Like I said, maybe the solution will cost them a little bit more money, but be upfront about it. You know, that's really the only way for me. That's the only way to go, is to be honest.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So are there ways that we can identify relationship issues before they become a problem in our organization? What can we look out for? What can we do so that we don't basically learn about these relationship issues as a client is walking out the door?
If you're a manager, obviously you need to spend time with the people that you're managing and observe them. And, you know, you do have, depending on how many people report to you, you do have weekly or monthly sessions with them. They used to call them one-on-ones.
I still do. I still call them one-on-ones.
Okay, so you have your one-on-ones, and you can tell, you ask them pertinent questions. At a certain level, you should be able to know what questions you need to ask the people that are working, that you're directing, that you're managing, and then find out what is it that they need help with, and maybe model it for them. It might be something you're familiar with, but there used to be a department called procurement. Okay, I think they've gotten rid of that department now. But
I would still call it procurement too.
Okay. But they used to have a department called procurement, and procurement basically was the department that went over the budget and said and questioned everything. Okay, I brought them into a procurement meeting with me, and I was the one answering the questions on the budget. It was her account. She was the one day-to-day managing it, but I brought her into that meeting because she needed to see how to negotiate with that kind of with that level of people, and with that department. By the way, we didn't give back a dime. Because that's what they're there for, is they're going to try to cut back the budget. I gave back no money.
Yeah.
So I wanted her to see how you demonstrate that, you don't go in, you go in with confidence with the budget that you put together.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes to get the work done. Don't back down.
Yeah, completely.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah, don't sell the farm.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, how can we what tips do you have for fostering better relationships with our clients? Then obviously kind of modeling is one of those, when managers are noticing that there might be issues and those kinds of things. But is there anything as an organization wide that that we can put in place so that we can make sure that we are fostering great relationships with our clients?
With the clients. Okay, so number one is, like I was mentioning, is demonstrating behavior that has integrity. Okay. The other thing too that I would say is to make sure that the client that you have, you get to know them. And I don't mean like how many dogs they have, how many kids they have, although that might come later because you might spend a lot of time talking with them. But you have to pay attention to who do they report to, how many times do they report to them, when do they report to them, and all of this basically is helping you anticipate what they need. So if you know that they have a status meeting on a Wednesday, then make sure that by Tuesday morning, Monday afternoon, you give them the rundown of what's going on so that they can present something. Okay, you don't wait for them to ask you. Okay, you do it right away. And it's all about paying attention to what the client needs. I don't mean this hierarchical model of a relationship. Like I said, it's an adult relationship, it's a partnership. And that's how I always work with my clients. It's a partnership. They're not on a pedestal above me. We work together. There's a certain function that I need to serve, and that is to anticipate what they need and to provide that to them in order for them to look good to their bosses, to their supervisors. And in that sense, when I need something from them, okay, for example, an asset, because I used to work in digital tech, digital advertising, when I need something from them, then they don't hesitate to get it from me either, because they understand, okay, this is what she needs. So it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship where you're both working together and you both understand, like, when I say I need something, I need something. And you need to help me out the way I've helped you out. But really, like I said, paying attention to the client, paying attention to what the client needs, and anticipating that and providing it to them before they ask.
Nice. And I like how you bring it back to that behaving with integrity as well, because I think it can be something that gets a little bit lost sometimes, I think, particularly in the sort of digital online space where people have that whole, fake it till you make it type mentality, and which people always get unstuck with and never serves anyone in reality. Yeah. But it can get lost sometimes with that stuff. So I like that's an ingrained part of building the relationship, because let's face it, if you're going into a relationship with a sort of fake facade on, you're never ever going to have a proper relationship with somebody, whether that is a client, whether that is in a romantic relationship, whatever that is. We can't go into things with that, as the underlying foundation of the relationship.
And I also believe that as you have to model, and I've said this a couple of times already, you have to model the behavior for the people that report to you. If you don't show them how to develop good client relationships, then they're not going to learn it from you either, because you're not always the one that's client facing. They're the ones who do the day-to-day work. So you have to teach them those behaviors. And the first thing I try to remove is the fear of talking to the client. Okay, like I said, you just have to think of it as this is business, and if we're honest, we have nothing to be afraid of.
Yes.
So that's the first thing I teach.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I know that when I started my career and I had to start being client facing, I was very nervous about speaking to the client, because you think, what if I say something wrong? What if I mess up? Because at that point, I think people forget that it's okay as well to say to a client, actually, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to find out and I'll come back to you. And I think that's where sometimes people can get stuck with the fear of speaking to a client, or they get caught out with this integrity piece, don't they? Where they feel like they don't want to actually admit to a client that they don't know something. But I think that it's important to say that that's okay too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There was a time when I was working in corporate and I had 40 clients. Obviously, I had 40 clients, but not at one time. So they came in, in phases. But overall, and they were high-end. For some reason, they gave me the high-end difficult clients. I guess because they knew I was, I can push back. And I can manage them. So a lot of times I would be working and the phone would ring and I wouldn't pick it up, even though I could tell like it was ex-client. Okay. So I would see it and I'd be like, okay, I need to finish this. Okay, so I would finish the work. I'd pick up the call, understand what they're asking. Hopefully they said what it was. And then if I did, I would email them, and I would say, just want you to know, I know you left a voicemail. It's about this. If they said what it was about, then I would list it. I will get back to you before this time, and I will provide you with the answer. And it's an acknowledgement that they called. So there's no avoidance, right? So maybe they didn't get their answer right away, but there was an acknowledgement that they reached out to you. So again, that helps build the trust, right? That the client is like, okay, she's paying attention. She's not leaving me hanging, even if she didn't pick up the phone. And in that situation, what you were also doing is managing their expectations. So it's like, yes, I know that you've asked for this, or you're looking for this. I am going to, get that to you at this point in time. I think that's another thing that many people either don't do, or they give a date or a time, but then they don't stick to it. So they say, oh yeah, I'll get that to you by tomorrow, but they don't tell whoever needs to know about that, and it never ever happens. And then the client again is left going, hello, and being the one that has to chase, rather than that proactivity happening as well. I mean, again, if we're gonna put this in reality, there may be times when the answer, you cannot get the answer that day.
Of course.
So then again, that's where the honesty comes in. I know I said I would get the answer to you this day, but this is what happened, and we'll work, rest assured I'll have it to you by whatever, because you would know what the situation is by this time.
Yeah.
And then eventually you develop, enough of a knowledge around the work that you do and the work that your team does that maybe you can supply some part of the answer. You're not completely blind. You understand what the work of your team does, that you can supply some little piece of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think another thing too often happens when people are scared to pick up the phone to the client or communicate with the client is that sometimes people forget that the client is human too.
Yes.
And they will usually, unless they're having a really bad day, they will usually understand. Yeah. They will usually go, oh, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know.
Yes.
Let's follow up in 2 days when you're able to do that thing. And actually, most people are completely okay with that.
Yes. Just as long, like I said, don't leave people in the dark, because nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the term is ghosting.
Yes, I think it is. I think that's what the cool kids are saying nowadays.
Yes. Don't do that. And yeah, like I said, treat them the way you would want to be treated. Would you want the answer at least an acknowledgement that you reached out? Yes, you would like that. So do the same for the client. Anything can be negotiated. Okay, that's the way I approach things with a client. And I have another story for you. And this one, we had a larger client. This was when I was in corporate, and this is where I learned all my, this is where I got all my knowledge from, obviously.
Yeah.
It's for working for somebody else.
Yes.
Now I just teach it.
Yeah.
So we had a client, and they wanted this complete website in a smaller amount of time, in lesser time. Okay. And I sat with the team, and I knew, first of all, I know enough about the work that I knew that it wasn't possible. So the account person and I was in project management operations. Okay. So project manager being me, and the account person, we were going back and forth, and I said, this is not possible. You can promise it to them. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I don't want to be on a team that's going to lose face. Yeah. Okay, I'm also half Asian, so there's that. So I want to make sure that I deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. So I said, make that phone call, make the conference call, and I will speak. And he was like, no. I'm like, make the phone call and I will speak. So we made the phone call, and again, the project manager who was day-to-day was in the room, because again, I am a big believer in teaching and role modeling how you should interact.
Nice. So
we get the client on the phone, and he's of course saying, I want this, this is what I want, this is what it has to be, this, and I'm like explaining to him why not.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped, and the account person was, gesturing to
just kind of fluffing around.
Yes. And I told him, just relax. And I said to the client, let's say his name was Alan. I don't know. Okay. I said, Alan, tell me what you want to hear. Would you like to be smiling now and crying later?
Yeah.
Or would you like to be a little less happy now but ecstatic later? I said, you choose what scenario you want here, and that's what I'll tell you. So there was a little, of course the account person was like, again, he was
you can't say that.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I just told him, just relax. So the client was quiet. He goes, fine, Trish, tell me, what can we do? And I said, okay, this is how we're going to do this. So what we did basically is we phased in the website. And I said, as we we will launch with this because this is what's more important to you, this information, and then we will start backfilling, and then I will give you the different, you know,
milestones
deadlines for each, for each phase. So that's what we did, and when the day came, 12:01 a.m. that day, I was up, I was at the computer waiting for it to go live. It went live. They were over the moon.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, I was honest, we were honest. This is what we can do for you. You want any more? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you have someone to report to. So what do you want?
Yes.
So negotiate it. Yeah.
And manage the expectations of the client too.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what we can deliver at this time. We can't deliver any more than that at that point. I know you want more, but we can't do it. And I think that's really important as well, is just to you know, stand your ground with that too, because like you said, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That you know, that just causes a lost client, a disappointed client, someone who's not happy with what you're doing. Whereas we all want the opposite effect from dealing with clients, regardless of whether the outcome of whatever we're doing was 100% what they were looking for. We need to make sure that they walk away pleased with what they've reached, the point they've reached with us.
Yes. That's why I said everything is negotiable, and just as long as you're dealing from, you know, a place of honesty and you deliver what you say you can deliver, then there shouldn't be a problem. And again, like I said, you have to think from the client's perspective. They have supervisors they need to report to as well. So make them look good by making sure they have the information and the plan. Okay, to go to their supervisors with and report to. So
absolutely. Trish, I think you've given us some great tips to creating profitable relationships with clients, for communicating with our clients better. So I'm loving that. Trish, how can people connect with you, find out more about you and all those things?
Well, they can go to my website. It's thrishtagle.com. And you'll have that in your show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm not going to spell it out. And then there's two downloadables that they can access from that, and I'll give you the links. And again, I'm not going to spell it out because show notes. We're going to click on the click on the link, everyone. Yes, exactly. And the two. One of them will help them organize their work better, so they can prioritize better. And then the other one is a script to help you negotiate with a client who wants more for free. Nice. That is very nice. I think that's going to be one that is highly clicked because that is always an interesting discussion. So. We'll of course put all the links rather in the show notes for everyone as well, so that they can come and check those out. Trish, thank you so much for joining us. I very much have enjoyed our discussion today, and this is great. We will speak soon, I am sure. Okay, great. Thank you so much.